Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the WZ-113G FT, being the Chinese Tier 10 Tech Tree Tank Destroyer. Now, I wanted to make a video on this tank, and you may be asking, well, this is a pretty far-fetched video. Really, nobody cares about this tank, so why are you making a video on it? And that's exactly why I do want to make a video on this tank, is because nobody cares about the Chinese tank destroyers. They are literally, I think, the least played tank destroyer line in the entire game by battles played per month. And it's really sad to me that it's such a low amount of people actually want to go down and grind this line. And in this video, I wanted to shed some light, maybe help you guys understand why I actually really do enjoy this tank destroyer itself. I already made a video on the Tier 9, and I love the Tier 9. I think it's one of the actual best tank destroyers in the game tier for tier, just because of the spectacular armor profile it has mounted on it. But this video, of course, is on the Tier 10, so I'm going to be talking about the tank today. Now, the Tier 10 has actually been buffed quite a bit. It's received armor buffs, it's received engine power buffs, it's actually received the consumables. However, you notice that I'm actually not running any of the new consumables on the tank. And that's a little forewarning I'm going to tell you guys, is I actually really don't think the consumables that they add for the British heavy tanks and like the E5 or even the WZ are that spectacular, because what they end up doing is they take up a repair kit. And on a tank destroyer like the WZ-113, you need your repair kits because you're a tracked, non-turreted vehicle. So if somebody destroys your track, that's it. You've got your one repair kit, and if somebody damages your loader or your aimer or your anything that requires a medic, you can't use it. You're done. You're going to be tracked twice. You're in place. You're done. And this tank is huge on the sides, which means that if you get tracked and then tracked again, you are just going to be out of the game. That's it. You're going to be flanked and dead. So I actually don't really care for the consumables. I would rather have the ability to repair my track twice over the ability to get a little bit maybe more shots and with that accuracy buff, because that's really the only one that appeals to me. Reactive armor is sort of just a waste of a spot for me, in my opinion. It takes off 20% of damage. It's really not that much of the amount, and I really just think it would kill you if you were to put on reactive armor, but you still get tracked and they get behind you and kill you. So you're still going to be at the worst end of the stick. However, back into this tank, I also wouldn't run the sandbag armor on these vehicles if you do get it. Now, heavy tanks, that's a little bit different. You want your armor. But for the WZ, you don't have a crazy amount of hit points to begin with, 1900. You're only adding 100 to your vehicle, and I'd really rather have that little bit of extra, dispersion values, a little bit more damage per minute, the little bit of stuff and tidbits that the provisions add over the 100 hit points. I really think they do help the tank out, just get their shots in more, get the speed up, and I really just run the provisions over the sandbag armor, should I say. But ignoring the consumables, right into the tank, a lot of people say that it's a worse version of the 268 because it's slower, it's a bigger vehicle, it's got a worse camo rating, the armor doesn't seem as good, the tank is, as I said, slower. There's a lot of things that you may be saying, well, why don't I just go to the 268 line? They're pretty much identical, except the 268 looks like it's better in every single way. However, a lot of tanks do that on paper. For example, the Sheriff, which a lot of you guys know I despise, that tank, it looks spectacular on paper. It looks like it has good armor, it has amazing damage per minute, it's got great gun depression, it's got very good speed for a heavy. However, it just plays awful in battle unless you get it stuck in the perfect scenario. And that's really what the trick of the WZ-113 GFT plays on you, is it looks like it's a really bad tank. It looks ugly, it looks like its gun is crap, it looks like the tank would play crap, but it really doesn't. It actually performs very, very well in battle. Now that shot just didn't want to go through for some reason. It wanted to fly into his track wheel. But you can see we've already picked up 4,600 damage this game, and we've got a grill with 612 health. Gonna snap that shell into him. 5,208 damage in this first game, which is pretty good, judging that this was one of the first games I played in this tank this morning. I actually got about 4,000 or 5,000 damage games in this tank out, which was pretty impressive for me, judging that I haven't played it in such a while. but my win rate currently in this vehicle is 69%. It was at 70. I lost a couple games, unfortunately, today. And my average damage is like 3,200-ish, which is, I think, my highest average damage, period, in the game for tank destroyers. And I think actually every tier 10 this beats. And that's just because it plays so well in certain battles. In the second replay, you just wait and see how well it can play also as a heavy tank. But you can see this game, 5,208 damage, not too shabby. We picked up the mastery. And just to point out to you, so little people play this tank that we were actually able to pick up a mastery with only 5,208 damage, even while Uprising is still currently in play. Which means that it might take you 10,000, 15,000 damage to actually master a tank like the 268 because so many people are playing it in Uprising. There are so little amount of people actually playing the WZ-113 GFT in the Uprising game mode that this tank is actually easy to master compared to it being pretty much impossible to master any other tank in the game currently until the Uprising event's going to end, which is quite ridiculous. And to be honest, I bet you less than 10 people have ran this tank in the last week in the Uprising event. The whole entire event, I bet you only 10 people have actually ran this tank, maybe even less. That's just how little I really think this tank has been played. But let's get stuck into the second replay. Now you saw that the WZ can do a great job as a tank destroyer, and it should do, obviously, because as I said, it pretty much has the identical stats of the 268. Now the penetration is a little bit worse, but it's really not going to affect you that much in the midst of a battle because it's only like 10-15 millimeters difference with your standard rounds, and you still have over 300 millimeters of penetration when you do run calibrated on this tank. So you're still not going to struggle penetrating anything really at tier 10. And if your 305 is enough, you can run heat, which does like 412 or something ridiculous. You're really not going to have to worry about penetration with this tank. That is not the biggest threat ever you're going to have to deal with. However, another thing is not only can this tank be run like a tank destroyer, sitting at the back of the map, it can also be run like a full-on heavy, because the frontal armor of this tank is actually very, very strong. You can see the whole superstructure of it is around 300 millimeters thick, and when aiming dead on, you can actually get around the 310 average. That's very, very thick. That means if I was up against an enemy WZ-113 GFT, he would actually have to load heat shells to be able to penetrate me guaranteed. AP shells would be like a 50-50% chance of going through. And that's ridiculous, just showing you how much armor this tank actually has. And that's the entire superstructure. The gun mantlet is completely impenetrable. And because of that, it actually works as a very, very good hull-down vehicle. You can face hug, and if people can't shoot your lower plate, they're really not going to be able to penetrate you. Now you can see that on the armor that the upper part of the lower plate looks like it's a very easy pen, only about 120 thick. However, Wargaming recently buffed that in the last update, and it's just not updated on Armor Inspector yet, but that's actually completely impenetrable now. So the only penetrable spot is the complete lower plate of this tank. Now that's still a very, very large target, but it's really not that bad, judging that the entire upper part of this tank is completely impenetrable by pretty much any tier 9s and even most tier 10s. But you can see that T-30 was easily able to snap a shell to us. Another big downside is the side armor of this tank. It's only about 82 thick on the sides, and the rear of this tank is 70 thick, and that's really just awful. If anything gets the side of your vehicle, it will probably shoot high explosive at you, and it will hurt. However, you can see this game we picked up 5,500 damage very, very quickly, very easily. We were able to push right up with the heavies, and that's why I really love this tank, is because it's able to do 2 in 1. You can run it like a heavy, bounce the shells, deal the damage, but yet you also have a little bit of speed on you. So what this tank is sort of mixed in is it's like you get a 268 and then you mix it with an E3. So you have very, very strong armor, and yet you also have a very, very good gun, because the E3 does not have a spectacular gun. It has that American accuracy where like half of your shells decide to just go off into the middle of nowhere. This tank has the accurate gun. It's got the damage per minute. If you don't run calibrated, you're actually sitting at 3,000, which is quite a bit of damage per minute. And you can see it actually earns quite a bit of credits, 38,000 here. We managed to pick up the mastery again, but that is pretty funny. I actually managed to pick up 5 masteries of this tank just alone today. So if you also like to pick up masteries, this is definitely the tank for you. But overall, I really like the tank. I think it's one of the better tier 10 tank destroyers in the game. And even though it looks like it's worse than the 268 on paper, it really isn't. It's how it's played in battle. And you can't say, well, I killed them on the battlefield, therefore they're bad. In the right hands of the correct player, this tank can be devastating. And you can go up against these things and just not be able to penetrate them. And the thing that's really cool about this tank is because so few people actually play it, not a lot of people actually know how to penetrate this thing because they barely see them on the battlefield. You probably have greater chances of finding a T-22 on the enemy battlefield than you do this tank here. So that is really one thing that's really cool about it, is you're really not ever going to find these on the enemy battlefield, so not a lot of people know how to take it out. And the other thing I just wanted to add about this tank is, on paper, the 268 goes 50 kilometers per hour, and this tank goes 38. However, that's not necessarily true, because this tank has a ridiculous amount of engine power. It received a huge buff recently where it just has an amazing power to weight ratio, and because of that, this tank is very, very easily able to go up speed. You can see its average speed is around 31 kilometers per hour, which means that this tank is going to very, very easily climb up to speed and stay at its top speed once it's on flat terrain or even some very, very hilly terrain. When you compare that to the top speed of like a Object 268, while it may be 50 on paper, the average speed of the tank is 33, which means that it's really only going about 2 faster average, which really shows that the Object 268 may look better on paper for speed, but it really isn't. So my personal opinion is I love the WZ-113 GFT, and I would suggest some of you guys to go down this line, try it out, because the whole line is a blast. The Tier 8 I love the Tier 9. It's actually one of my favorite Tier 9s in the entire game. The Tier 10 is really just a joy to run. You can see my statistics in it show how much I really like to run it as well. 68% win rate, 3,158 average damage. That is by far one of my top tier 10s in the game. You can see right below the FE 4005, but my win rate just completely dominates in this tank. And because of that, I really think this is just one of the best tank destroyers in the game that you can really get. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash that like button if you did. If you didn't, hit me with the downvote. Let me know why you didn't like it in the comments down below. Other than that, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.